comments from the head coach. Coach, take it away.
All right, thanks, Ross. Good morning, everybody. Well, we're excited to be back at home this week, and hard to believe that we've only got 2 home games left. Just crazy how the season seems to be flying by. So, Game 7 for us, and 2 home games left. So excited to have another opportunity. This is Paul Journey week for us, and Paul Journey is something that we're incredibly passionate about here at Clemson, and started with really literally the day I became interim coach in trying to create a program for the players that was obviously, as coaches we do a lot of things, but I just felt like that we needed to create something that was different for our players. And talked literally the night that I was interim, I talked Jeff Davis into moving over from development and helping me create what I was calling a player relations program. And so Jeff was a one-man shop for several years, and then created Paul Journey through the experience of doing it year in and year out. But he was a one-man shop for several years, and then we were able to start building some personnel and really kind of creating just like we have an offense and a defense and strength coaches and nutrition and training room. We got Paul Journey, and just a very critical piece to our program, and one of the key components to our culture and our consistency and success. There's no doubt about that. And the bottom line for us, it's about creating. We say down there all the time, it's about creating first-class men, world-class leaders, and Paul Journey is our tool to do that. And Jeff has been amazing, really has, and so instrumental in developing and growing that program. And as we were able to get him more help and hire Savannah Bailey to come in, and Rashard Hall and Travis Blanks and Reggie Pleasant, we just have an awesome team. And that's all they do every day. Every day they just wake up and try to figure out how to serve our players and former players and the community and so forth. But Paul Journey is all about personal growth for our players. It's about life skills. It's about community engagement. It's about career development, career networking, job placement. So many things go into the Paul Journey program, and it's just amazing what goes on year in and year out. And it's a huge part of our leadership development as well. We have our Paul Journey ambassadors, and those guys are elected by our team, and so just can't say enough about it. And this is kind of a week where, as a program, we try to feature Paul Journey and all the things that go on within the program outside of football. So hopefully everybody will enjoy some of the social media things and different content that we'll put out this week. But BC is going to be a tough team. This is a really well-coached team. Jeff's done an awesome job coming in, and he's put a good staff together. He's immediately created belief in his guys. These guys are playing hard. They're playing confident. They could easily be 5-1 right now. They're a 4-2 football team. And then, you take over a program, kind of what's there is there. But he's gotten a couple of transfer guys in there. But they're doing a great job of figuring out what their strengths are and playing to those strengths. And they've gotten better and better and more confident as the season has gone. And this will be a tough challenge for the Tigers this week, no doubt about it. Starting with their offense. All those linemen are back, big, physical, strong BC linemen. That's what you think about. So this is a really good group up front. They're well coached. They're all on the same page. These guys have played a lot of ball together, and they're confident. The biggest thing that's different about BC from years past in preparing for these guys is they're throwing the ball all over the place. And they're doing it, not necessarily just dropping back and throwing the ball. There's lots of play actions, lots of boots, lots of, post wheels and screens, and, just a lot of different ways to get their playmakers the ball. and do a great job with their bunch sets, their 11, 12 personnel, a big quarterback. He's a hard guy to get on the ground. He's athletic, he's crafty, he extends, he creates, and he can make the throws. So, I mean, and he's a kid that transferred in there from Notre Dame. This is a really good football player that's getting better and better, and you can tell that the team believes in him. So it's going to be a challenge for us defensively in sorting things out, especially post-snap, and being disciplined with our eyes and handling all the layered routes and cross-country routes, and, again, the boots and swaps and all that comes off of that stuff. They're 5 out and then they're max protection, and so there's just a lot of they're doing a really good job schematically of creating some challenges. But they're throwing the ball well, and then this past week they got the running game rolling. Got excellent personnel up front, got a really good 3 backs. All 3 of those backs can run. The Flowers kid he's a really good player, and the tight end is a guy that's leading them in receiving. So he's a big, strong target that makes a ton of competitive plays. So we've got our work cut out for us there. And then defensively, these guys are same thing, very well coached, very well positioned. You can see Jeff's influence immediately from what we saw at Ohio State. I mean, he's a detailed coach. He's a fundamental coach, and they challenge you. So these guys are going to be where they're supposed to be. They've gotten a couple of transfers in up front that have really helped them. They got a very strong-minded group. When you watch them play, these are guys that are relentless to get to the ball, relentless to get their job done. And, again, they're all on the same page. You rarely see them out of position. So very impressed, with this football team, and I know that we're going to have a big challenge this week. But looking forward to it. For us, we got it's that time of year where you get some guys banged up, and you have to dig in a little bit, and you got some guys that have to step up. You saw that last week. Thought Jake Venables did a great job for us, and stepping in there and filling a role. And our kind of policy this year, as we said earlier in the year, is with all the kind of craziness going on, is who's available, who's not available, and all that, and kind of sticking to that. If we got a guy that I think is going to be out for a little while, then I've been trying to make sure y'all know that, and that's kind of where we are. Unfortunately, really did not find out until last night. We got the MRI back late, and really felt like Skowski was going to be good to go. He was feeling pretty good, but we ended up, after we tested him last night, we went and got a quick MRI, and it looks like he's going to have some little scope surgery, so he's going to be out for a few games. So just go ahead and put that out there. So that's a big loss for us. Other guys, we have a few other guys banged up that are all working to get back, and it's a day-to-day thing with those guys. But Skowski, he's going to miss a few games, unfortunately. Kind of in his growing area, but definitely anticipate getting him back, here in a few games. But just have to, see how it all goes and how quickly he responds to the scope. But great football player. I hate that for him, really do. Senior, and hate that he's got to miss his last couple home games, or at least one of them anyway. And we'll get him back as soon as we can. So he'll definitely be out this week. So with that, I'll take your questions.
Hey, Dabo, this is Dennis Dodd from CDS Sports. Kind of dovetailing on the Pod Journey thing. Are you going to do anything particularly special next Tuesday on Election Day? Take them out to vote or anything like that?
Our guys have already voted. So, we've been working on that for a long time. So, there might be a few local guys who haven't, but pretty much our team's already voted. So it'll be a day off. Us coaches we'll be working on game planning and doing what we do, but it'll be a day off for the team. So we'll practice on Sunday and Monday, and then so that's one positive. I'm really thankful that we have a noon game this week because we got to turn it around Saturday night, to get back to work on Sunday and Monday, knowing that we won't have the guys on Tuesday.
Okay, sorry about that. Thanks.
Yep.
Dabo, Larry Williams here. What's your level of confidence that Tyler Davis will be able to come back sometime soon?
Oh, I'm very confident that he'll be back soon. Hopefully sooner than later. But he's progressing really well. Pretty confident in that.
Hey, Coach, it's Trevor Gross from CUTigers.com here. You mentioned the good season that Dracovic, the transfer quarterback from Notre Dame, is having. He had his best game running the ball on Saturday. Is he the type of quarterback you really got to have a guy spying him, especially when you're in man coverage on defense?
Yeah, he's their second leading rusher. He's a crafty guy. He's not the kid from Miami and not the kid from Virginia. As far as just straight out just speed. But man, he's so hard to get on the ground. He's a big, strong body. He's crafty. He can create. He can extend. And these guys probably do as good a job as anybody with their scramble rules at receiver, and they make a bunch of competitive plays. So, us having first of all, we got to do a great job in containing him. Whoever our contained guys are, we can't let him escape, because when he does, man, he finds guys and he can extend those plays. So there's a lot of times guys have him sacked, but he's so strong he doesn't go down and get rid of the ball. So he's a real challenge. He's a different type of challenge than we've had. But again, he's a big old thick kid. So they're using him in the run game, and again, he's their second leading rusher at this point.
Coach, this is Rich Thompson from the Boston Herald. How are you this morning?
Yeah, I'm great. Thank you.
BC's only been in the league since 2005, but you play annually for the O'Rourke McFadden Trophy. I was just wondering, do you appreciate these kind of football traditions and the historical attachment of the Clemson-BC game?
I do. I really do. And to be quite honest with you, I didn't know a lot about BC. Growing up in Alabama and spending most of my life there, I didn't know a lot about BC, and then until, obviously knew Doug Flutie and all that, but until they came into the league, and so it's a pretty unique tradition, and then for me, BC is always going to be a special game because that was my first ever win. That was my first ever win, my first ever trophy, I guess, if you will. I think, I think Spiller was the leather helmet winner. But yeah, so, it's one that's got even more special meaning to me, for sure. But there's great traditions, great respect from both fan bases, and, always fun to compete against those guys.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep.
Coach Joe Gorgio, WIS. Curious, what has impressed you most about your defense this season, considering you guys have had key players missing practically every single game?
Yeah, well, just our preparation and guys stepping up and being ready, and I think that's a reflection of that's one of those silver linings. Our defense is not easy. There's a lot of moving parts, and sometimes it may take a little longer for some guys to grab a hold of. But all of those Zoom meetings from March through July, when normally we would not be able to meet and talk ball with our players, I think it's a reflection of that. So that's one of those silver linings from one of the positives that's come about is, I think, mentally coming into camp we were further along than we normally would be, and so it's allowed us to have a little more functional depth early in the process to our season. So we're really proud of our guys. But, hey, Jake's a good football player. He got a lot. This is his third year. He's a redshirt sophomore. He got a lot of experience last year. So we feel good about him. other guys that have had to, we've developed some depth up front. Guys have been down. I mean, Tyler's been out. Well, you know what? Brzez's not a freshman anymore. He's played 6 games. Niles Pinckney's played a lot of football for us. Jordan Williams played a lot of football for us. And then we've had to, again, use the best personnel that we have from week to week based on, injuries or whatever. So we've got some flexibility within our scheme that allows us to do what we need to do to give us the best chance to win. And that's what we try to do every week on both sides of the ball. But I'm just proud of our guys mentally. That's the biggest thing. Just the mental preparation coming into the season, is what's showing up right now defensively. And that is a real positive for us.
Dabo, this is Matt with the State. Skowski going down, just how nice is it to have a guy like Jake who knows the defense, and as far as being the defensive leader you guys need and that kind of stuff to get everybody lined up and ready to go? Well,
it's huge, and he did a great job last week. He really played well for us. He and Speck, man, they did an awesome job. And this is a game, especially to have a guy, because they're a challenge formationally, schematically, and what they do. A lot of motions and shifts and things that you have to be able to process. Definitely thankful that we've got a veteran guy like Jake who really understands and gets it. And listen, this creates more opportunity for, McGuire and Kane and Levante Bentley. Those guys that have been working and grinding, and, they're prepared to be able to play more as well. So, you just hate it for Jamie. Jamie's he's a great player. It's hard to replace what he brings as a 5th-year senior. And he's as good as it gets in college football, in my opinion. So that's tough to lose a guy like that. I mean, he's truly the heart and soul of our defense. But we've got other guys that'll step in and do a great job for us while he's out. But we'll get him back. Just don't know how many games he's going to miss before he can get back out there and do it. So we'll see.
Hey, Coach, it's David Hood. You mentioned something about Mike Jones last night. There might be a chance he would not play. Do you have any clarification on his status for Saturday?
Yeah, he's day to day. I mean, he's one of those guys that this time of year you always have some guys that Sunday, Monday they're moving a little slow, and then they kind of pick it up and ready to go by the weekend. And so he's a day to day guy. He's in that category. So. He could play, he may not play. I don't know. We'll just have to really see. It's Tuesday, see where he is this afternoon, and as we go throughout the week. But same thing. Hopefully he'll be back this week, but if not, sooner than later.
Hey, Coach, it's Trevor again. You mentioned their tight end, Hunter Long. He's top 10 nationally in receptions, first among tight ends, and 3 touchdowns this season. Just how does he compare to some of the great tight ends you've played against, and how much of a matchup problem is he?
He's just a big body. I mean, he's a great competitive finisher. He catches a lot of balls with people just hanging on him. He does a great job of positioning, getting himself between the ball and the defender, and then he plays with his length. Some guys are big, but they don't play big. This guy plays big. He understands the game. He fits well in their scheme, and he's like I said, just a big security blanket for them. They're going to find that guy, big target, and he's a great finisher. He's 6'5", and he plays bigger than 6'5", because he really uses his length and his body positioning well. So he's a good matchup challenge for us.
This is Matt again. Do you have any kind of an update on Dustin Foster, or know if you might get him back this year?
Hopeful, but he's still unavailable right now. But still hopeful.
Hey Dabo, it's Josh from the Posting Courier. We know Brent is very intense. What's his kind of working relationship like with his sons when they're on the field? Does he kind of treat them like any other player? Like, what's that dynamic like?
Yeah, no different than myself with my kids. I mean, you just coach them like everybody else. That's the same thing. everybody's got a job to do, and if you do your job, you know, nobody's probably going to say too much, but if you're not doing your job, you're going to probably hear about it. So no different for those guys as anybody else out there.
Dabo, David Hale with ESPN. Do you see personality similarities between Jake and Brent? I know Brent is an intense guy, I guess would probably be the best way of putting it. Do you see similar characteristics in Jake?
Definitely some similar characteristics, but T-Bone's probably wired a little more like Brent, and Jake's maybe you know, Jake's a little more reserved, and then but he's a grinder like his dad, but he's reserved, and then he's relentless on the field, but T-Bone is probably a little more like Brent in that. He's like the Tasmanian everywhere he goes. He's just flying around everywhere all the time. But they're two great kids, man. Just great kids, and very different, but both similar when it comes to their love of preparation, their commitment to grinding to be great. Their love of playing the game, and their toughness. Both of them are really, really tough. I mean, T-Bone got in the game last week, had 16 plays, and led our team in tackles. I mean, and that's where he was in high school. I told Brent when I think T-Bone might have been in the 10th grade, it was 10th or 11th grade, but we were sitting together at the high school game, kids playing together, and I told him, I said, he's in every tackle. I mean, T-Bone was in on if he wasn't in on the tackle, it's because the whistle blew just before he got there. I mean, he just has that type of motor, and so he's gonna be a heck of a player for us. But Jake is just steady, man. He just knows what he's doing. He's consistent. It's been awesome for him to have a guy like Skowski in front of him these past couple of years to really mentor and bring him along, and super proud of his development.
Tyler, probably barely teenagers when you first met them. What's it, and obviously your own boys too. What's it like to kind of have those kids that you watch grow up, literally now playing for you in these roles?
We got a bunch of those guys on the team. I mean, when the Venables came here, I was coaching baseball, and I think Jake was maybe 7th grade or something like that, and so he was on my baseball team, and coached him a little while, and then coached him in some rec basketball as well, but we got a bunch of these guys on this team that have grown up in the surrounding community here that I've seen for a long time. That's fun to have them on our team now. Because again, I got 2 sons. One's a 4th-year player, and one's a redshirt sophomore, and so you're involved in the community, because we've been here for so long, and so you get to know all those kids. You get to know the kids in your kids' phase of life, and so really cool to see a lot of these guys, that are contributing on our team in different ways.
Dabo, Larry Williams here. You mentioned Tyler's motor being important in him being around the ball so much, but how important also is, I guess, his feel for the game?
Yeah.
Being at the positions he is, like, how I guess rare is that for a freshman to have that kind of feel for the game and putting himself in the right places?
Yeah, it's rare. I mean, because he can do a lot. T-Bone could play either safety, he can play our nickel, he can play our dime, simply because he has a foundation of knowledge that is unique for a young player. It usually takes a while for guys to kind of develop that. But he played quarterback. He was as good a quarterback as there was in this state. This guy's a baller, man. I mean, he can throw it. He can run. He is a really good quarterback. And so, now you go over and you're playing safety, and that's kind of like being a quarterback on the other side of the defense, and I mean of the team here. And I think that helps him, certainly. I mean, obviously he's grown up around it, and he's been coached for a long time. But he was a good defensive player in high school, and we knew early on, like, hey, this kid, I offered him in the 10th grade. I'm like, look, this guy here, there ain't no doubt on that guy. He's going to be a great safety. And then they wouldn't hardly let him play his senior year because, he was their quarterback. So he only went in there if they had to really, really get a stop on somebody. I think has served him well, learning the game from an offensive perspective as well as a defensive perspective. And then obviously just growing up in a coach's family.
How did he get the nickname T-Bone?
I have no idea. Honestly, I've known him as T-Bone since I met him. That's how Brent introduced him to me. He was introducing me, all of his kids, Laney, Addie, Jake, when they first getting in here, and I was excited to meet him. And he's like, and this is T-Bone, so. I don't know. I have no idea. But you think about this happy dog with a big old T-bone in there, just eager to go, and that's kind of represents him well, man. He's a good one. A ball of fire.
Coach, it's Trevor again. Nolan Turner is top 10 nationally in interceptions right now. He had a TFL and a PBU on Saturday. We've heard you tell the stories of his recruitment many times, but do you think he deserves more attention nationally for the season he's having?
No, I don't think there's any question, but he's as good a player as we've had at Clemson. So, he's as good a safety as we've had come through here 18 years that I've been at Clemson. He's playing as well as any safety in 18 years at Clemson that I've been here. His knowledge, his understanding, his fundamentals, his technique, his leadership, it's off the charts. It's incredible, how he's performing for us. And, he's been making plays since, you remember, 2 years ago in the Cotton Bowl, he's a sophomore out there getting a big interception, and he was starting to become kind of our nickel dime guy and extra safety. And then last year, he took it to another level, and then this year, really truly a first year starter, even though we've kind of considered him a starter last year as well. But he's a great story, and he's what it's all about. That's what I try to say all the time, and that's what I hate about the recruiting process. I really do. It just drives me crazy how kids get so labeled, 5-star, and then if they're not starting as freshmen, people put so much pressure on these kids, and so with the transfer stuff, guys are just going to run and leave, instead of having self-awareness of where you need to improve and get better, and hang in there, because it's just different. I don't care. You guys get rated as 5 stars most of the time just because of just talent, but they don't necessarily have a football foundation. And this is a developmental game. This is not a game you just plug a guy in and he plays. Travis Etienne as a freshman, it was pretty obvious we knew he was the best guy on the team with the ball in his hands. But if you wanted to keep your quarterback for the season, you had to be very smart when you put him in the game. And he was limited, and so, he had to develop as good a player as he is. But it's a developmental game, and I just think sometimes we put so much pressure on these kids, and then if they're not starting as a freshman and something's wrong, they're this and that. No. It has nothing to do with it, and then the flip side, you get guys like Nolan, and it's like, well, the only reason he's here is because the coach knows his dad, and isn't that a sweet story, and he ain't no good, and that type of narrative, and now he's whatever you said he was in the country in interceptions, so nobody pays attention to him, and he just kind of goes over there and puts the work in and develops, and then you look up and he's as good as we've had in 18 years. 18 years at Clemson, we've never had a safety that's played better. This guy is playing as well as anybody we've ever had. So, I think that's the story. And lesson is, man, don't panic as a young player. Don't panic. Put the work in. get better, have some self-awareness, be coachable, all right? And the same thing as fans and things like that. Don't be so judgmental. If a guy doesn't start as a freshman, what's wrong? You know, this is not an easy game. This is a hard game. And sometimes, yeah, you have a guy like a Brian Brzee, you know, but you can't. He's not the norm. That's a, you know, he's a rare dude. Most guys, it takes a little bit of time, you know, to get them ready. And you know, Nolan is a perfect example of that. And what a great story he is, man. Super proud of him. He's become a great leader. He was very shy when he got here. He wasn't very confident when he got here. And you know, he's just gone through the process and put the work in, and you know, he's a guy that he'll play on Sunday. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Hey, Dabo, David with ESPN again. Maybe dovetailing off of that a little bit, talking about the 5-star guys who don't play right away, and you know, then they want to leave or transfer or whatever. The transfer rule is almost certainly going to change in the near future. You have not been someone who has reached out into the transfer portal in the past. Is that something that, as the landscape changes, you'll reevaluate, or something that you might start looking into doing a little bit more if the rules change and loosen?
Yeah, I mean, it'll just depend, you know. And again, that's just kind of been my personal philosophy here is you know, let's be accountable in our evaluation process and let's develop guys. We're a developmental program. I mean, we get some guys that plug in and play early, but we're pretty much a developmental program. We're not a quick fix program. Never have been. You know, it's just not been our philosophy. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's not. If I was somewhere else, that might have to be my philosophy. But that's just not how I've chosen to do it here. And but who knows? I mean, we'll have to cross that bridge when we come to it. I have no idea. You know, now there's zero consequences to leave. So if a guy, you know, it's going to be a lot easier. And, you know, if a guy just leaves, then who knows? You might have a bunch of guys gone, and maybe you have to get into the transfer world, you know, just simply because of, you know, attrition. If that happens. So I have no idea. I hope not, but if that has to be what we have to do, then, you know, we'll have to reevaluate that down the road.
You've done a really nice job over the years of having those guys that blossom in year 3, 4, 5. Is that sort of philosophy about it being a developmental program? Does that sort of overlap with the fact that you've had so many guys who maybe were not plug-and-play guys early that really developed and came on later in their career?
Yeah, I mean, we've had a bunch of those guys. I mean, Vic Beasley was the 8th pick in the draft, and he never started a game ever till his 4th year here. I mean, we've had a lot of those guys that have kind of stayed the course and put the work in and gotten better and better. And, you know, we've had walk-ons do well. I mean, we've had a little bit of everything from a developmental standpoint. My first ACC championship team, we had a walk-on starting left tackle, Philip Price. So he was just a kid I got to walk on. He was a tight end at a small Christian school, and you know, next thing you know, he's a starting left tackle on an ACC championship team. So I mean, we've had it at all areas, all positions. You know, we've signed guys that we knew, you know, a guy like Leggett that we hoped would develop into the type of tight end that he eventually became. And then we've had guys that, you know, you just open up the box, no assembly required. Sammy Watkins, show up, you know. So we've had a mixture, but we've had to do a great job from an evaluation standpoint and a development standpoint. And then and being convicted in what we believe and what we see. You know, Adam Humphries, perfect example. You know, I mean, guy makes $9 million a year, and he had one offer. And, you know, I remember that story. The only reason we were taking him was to get Sharon and blah, blah, blah. And Sharon had nothing to do with it. Sharon helped him because, you know, we went and saw him, and I'm sitting with his coach, and I'm like, who's this guy playing point guard here? He's the best player on the court. And he's like, well, he's my best football player too, but I can't get nobody to recruit him. And I'm like, really? And so next thing you know, we start looking at Adam. We're like, God, what are we missing here? And so again, it takes some conviction in what you believe. And so we've had a lot of those guys that have come through here that have really become great players. Kevin Dodd, Kevin Dodd was a 5-year guy that was a great player for us that had to develop and stay the course and get better. And again, we've had that at every single position. Cade Stewart, we beat Georgia Southern to get Cade Stewart, and man, Cade's a great football player. He's a great player, and so that's just kind of how we've gone about it. And we've had some Trevors and Deshaun's, and those guys are amazing when you can get those guys. But we mostly have had to do it through development and evaluation, and guys just putting the work in. So hopefully we can continue to be a program like that. But if that changes, then you have to adjust.
We'll take two more.
Dabo, this is Gene in Charleston. You guys have a bye week that November 14th Saturday. Augusta National just announced that for the Masters they'll have college game day there on that Saturday morning.
Wow.
Do you think that's pretty cool?
That's super cool. Really, really cool. At the Masters? So that's it's that weekend we're off. That's the Masters. Wow. Good. I have something else to watch on TV. That'll be pretty cool. No, it's neat. That's pretty neat. Did not know that.
Dabo, this is Pete at AP. I bet you saw the Indiana-Penn State situation. You saw Todd Gurley probably try and not score, or when he did score. Is that something you guys ever game plan for? Do you ever practice a situation like that where you want your running backs or receivers not to score or stop short of the goal line? Does that ever come up in workouts and practices?
We have a couple of situations that we talk about, every year, and that doesn't come up very often. It's something we talk about, as a staff and things like that. And we have some plays where guys understand that, hey, you got to get down because we've got maybe one timeout left or whatever, or, different situation in the game, and maybe you're trying to just get a field goal or whatever, and you don't want to let the clock. In fact, we had that happen one year, and we didn't get. I was so mad because we didn't execute the play properly. We had no timeouts and wanted to get down and get a field goal, but we had a guy just kept running around, and they let him run around, and then we ended up not getting any points because he thought he was going to go score. But so sometimes we don't execute properly, but those are unique situations. We actually had that my first year in 2009 ACC championship game against Georgia Tech. Neither team punted. And we were going back, and we were that last drive. They converted like 3 4th downs, and the clock was going down. And I'm like, man, we're not gonna have any time. And we literally were exactly talking about right there. But thankfully they scored, and at least we had a little bit of time. But that was something that, you talk about those things, and that's. You got to be really locked in the game in those moments because those are critical decisions at critical times, both as players and coaches.
All right. Well, I'm guessing that's got to be so tough for those players who see the wide open end zone and just can't get in there.
Yep, those are teachable moments for everybody.
All right, with that, we'll close up, Coach. We will
thank y'all.
the room around